It seems strange on a channel devoted to all things cycling that I'd be advising you to not go out on your bike. But today, that's exactly what I'm about to do. We've all had those days, I'm sure, where you've woken up on a ride day and you're trying to convince yourself to do anything other than ride your bike. There are many reasons why a ride might be cancelled. Personally, I marvel at those of you watching who try to fit a cycling hobby around full-time work and bringing up a family. Seriously, I'd take my hat off to you. In that scenario, there's plenty of opportunities for unforeseen events to impact on your availability to do a ride. So I'm talking here about a pre-planned ride where time is definitely available to you. You've woken up and you're just not feeling like it. The key thing here is to ascertain, is this a temporary lack of motivation or something more physical making you feel lethargic? Are you suffering from an underlying bug or illness, or is it just a severe case of CBA? CBA, you ask? You simply can't be arsed. CBA hits all of us from time to time, and if it's that, then, well, there are ways you can battle this lethargy. I discussed this in a previous video, which I'll link up here at the end of this one, which includes my tips for self-motivation to get you off your sorry ass and out the front door. Maybe you're not sure why you're feeling so lethargic, and one early sign is a higher than normal resting heart rate. This was me one morning earlier in the week.
I'm lying here in bed and my resting heart rate, which is really when you've just woken up, would normally be about low 50s, sometimes even 48. And you can see here the difference. I'm just sitting down resting, doing nothing.
It wasn't a surprise to me, as I was physically feeling a bit off anyway. But sometimes you might not be sure why you're feeling a bit like this guy. The other video I'll link at the end is this one about heart rate monitoring, which might be of interest because knowing my resting heart rate meant it was dead easy to see I was feeling fatigued because energy was being used to fight off a bug and significantly increase my resting heart rate as a result. We're at that time of year after all, where bugs and viruses may see you waking up like this. So depending on how committed you are, you may push through it and go out anyway, particularly if you're on some kind of schedule preparing for a race or an event. After all, you don't want to miss a crucial session, do you? But ask yourself too, is there any point in cycling whilst under the weather and feeling ill? Well, there's a general thought in cycling circles that if the symptoms are above the neck, it's okay. And if it's below the neck, then don't go. So in the latter case, it's when a cold bug gets into your chest, or you're making noises like an excited donkey when you cough. Above the neck might be that your sinuses are feeling clogged, and a ride in the fresh air can actually open all that up and give you some relief for a while, but it may well be accompanied with a snotty streaming mess. So either have something to wipe on, or perfect the nasal snot rocket, although that might not make you popular on a group ride, of course. The above and below the neck decision may not be that simple though. When I had that high resting heart rate, I was shivery, so a bit of a high temperature going on. So therefore, difficult to say if that was affecting me above or below when my whole body was shivering. In that case, I'd say it's time to just stay at home and even stay in bed. If it's making you really tired and shivery, then don't underestimate the power of sleep in your recovery. You're tired because your body is using energy to fight off the bacteria that's causing you the problem. So using any more energy just moving around will slow that process. So just give in to it if you can and sleep it away. Conversely, battling on by going out on the bike is possibly going to make any recovery more prolonged, and your performance on the bike will be so impaired there may be no point in going out anyway. Yeah, you'll increase your mileage on Strava, but how many days later on will you be at home ill because you made things worse? Just don't let your ego get in the way of good recovery. There are things you can do as a cyclist to lessen your chances of actually catching colds and bugs in the first place. And some are pretty obvious really. Eat healthily, practice good self-hygiene, and most of all, back to that key ingredient, sleep. A minimum of 7 hours a night is crucial. And all of this is even more important if you're training hard or in a long, tiring cycling event, where the exertions will leave your body even more vulnerable to infection without appropriate rest. It wasn't difficult for me, I have to say, on the jog, where I constantly ate my own body weight of food and almost fell asleep every night at the dinner table by 9 o'clock. So I was getting a good 9 hours kip each night. Colds and viruses are spread and caught from other people who have it or from bacteria on objects. You're not going to catch one by cycling in the cold air. That one is a myth. I guess calling it a cold is a bit misleading though, which I suppose probably leads to the popularity of the myth. Being out on your bike in the fresh air, especially in the winter, lessens your risk when everybody else is cooped up together indoors playing bacteria past the parcel. There are a couple of bacteria cesspits you need to be aware of as a cyclist though. Wearing a buff or a mask across your face may be a good idea for a while, but it's not going to take long before you're breathing back in everything that's now swimming around in all the gunk and mucus that's sitting in the material against your mouth and nose. Not a pleasant image, I know. Finally, your drinks bottle. You really need to keep these clean rather than refilling without a second thought. They are a safe haven for bacteria to multiply, especially around the bit you're actually putting your mouth on. But cleaning them regularly or replacing them is essential. Maybe a lighter colour would be useful so the gunk and crud shows up more and therefore would act as a reminder to do something about it. So if you wake up without any symptoms other than a very vague, I'm not feeling it today, then take the resting heart rate test. And if that's fine, it's just CBA. So think about some of the tips for self-motivation in this video. The heart rate stuff is here too in this video, so why not give that a look? Like and subscribe to the channel below if you can. Happy cycling, fight the CBA, but rest when needed. And I'll see you soon.